Los Angeles, good to have you here to sort out this mess for us. All right, so
Hi there, Rosemary.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson lost his second bid to hold snap elections. He then suspended Parliament for 5 weeks and he's been told to ask the EU for an extension, but refuses to do that. So what comes next? Given the bill to stop a no-deal Brexit has now become law, what are the possible scenarios going forward?
Well, you've got Parliament being prorogued, the technical term is, so shut down for the next 5 weeks. So we're not going to have any more action there. But Boris Johnson, we're hearing from the British media and from whispers coming from his cabinet, is planning various different strategies to try and weasel out of this law that would make him delay Brexit for another 3 months.
And what could some of those strategies be, though? How do you avoid a law?
Yeah, well, this is, coming from a prime minister who's made it his platform to be the law and order party, the party that is going to really crack down on crime in the UK, and that's how he'll be running, this upcoming general election. He has been letting it be known among the media that he's considering just not complying with the law, just breaking that law that Parliament passed, and refusing to go to the EU and ask for an extension. Now,
what would be the consequences of doing
possible jail for him? I mean, this may end up in the courts.
Why would he
I
do
think
that.
Well, that's one of the less likely options. But for him, this really is, as he said himself, do or die. Because if he lets Brexit be delayed, then his chances in the general election following that would be severely reduced. It was his whole platform. I'm going to take the UK out of the EU by October 31st, come hell or high water. If he doesn't do that, he's going to lose a lot of votes to the Brexit party, most likely, and it's going to make it very tough for him. But there are some other more likely ways that he will try to get out of this law. One of them is the idea that, so the law tells him he has to send a letter to the European Union and deliver it to Brussels and say, I would like an extension. He is considering, we're told, that he could write another letter saying, in fact, no, the first letter wasn't my real intention, and in fact we want a no-deal Brexit. Now, there have been some analysis by people very well placed to consider this. A former Supreme Court judge who said that he thinks this would be clearly breaking that law that Parliament passed. But it is a strategy that Boris is considering. And again, this is something that I think will end up in the courts eventually.
Right, of course. Right, sorry, you wanted another strategy, yeah?
Yes, he's got several up his sleeve, apparently 20 or more that they're considering right now. One of the other options is to get one of the EU member states to veto any delay to Brexit. So all the EU member states need to sign up to it. He goes and could ask for an extension, as the law tells him to, but then he could also do a side deal, perhaps with Poland or a country like that who has considered it in the past. Who would then veto the European Union signing up to that extension, and that would then force a no-deal Brexit.
Right, and of course, we're talking about 8 weeks, though, to come up with some sort of solution to negotiate a possible new deal, although he doesn't seem on board for that. And the French are signalling they might not give an extension. But again, of course, as we mentioned, Johnson doesn't really want one anyway. So how likely is it that France or Johnson will blink first? Because presumably this is part of the strategy as well, sort of pushing everyone to the edge.
Yeah, that's right. And I think France ultimately will let an extension go forward. If Boris Johnson does come to the European Union and says, all right, Parliament's made me ask for this extension, I don't think France is going to get in his way, because the European Union doesn't want no deal, because that would be pretty catastrophic for them as well in terms of trade and the friction and the chaos that would ensue from that. But also, they don't want the blame for no deal. And it would be very easy for Boris Johnson, for anybody in the UK, to point to France vetoing it or refusing to sign up to this delay and saying, well, we would have got it, but it's the European Union's fault. It's France's fault. No one wants the blame assigned to them. So there is this kind of game of chicken somewhat. But, you know, the game of chicken has shifted a lot from even a week ago, because, you know, a week ago the legal default was we are leaving the European Union on October 31st, and now the legal default is, as long as Boris Johnson doesn't wriggle out of it, we're going to have to stay for another 3 more months.
It's a breathtaking mess, really, isn't it? Josh Boswell,
really
thank you so much for sorting through this and looking at all of those possible strategies. We shall see. We'll keep watching this. Many thanks.
Thanks, Rosemary.
Well, at least 50 people